Two Esoteric Tarots. This is a new book published by Scarlet Imprint, and it's a conversation between Peter Mark Adams and Christophe Poncet, mediated by Cesar Pedrero. So, to explain exactly what this book is, I'm going to need to give you a little bit of context. In 1980, a scholar named Michael Dummett declared to everyone's satisfaction that the tarot had no use other than for being a card game before the late 18th century. 1780, I think, is the first time that Dummett decided the tarot had ever been used in an occult or esoteric context. That's described in quite some detail in this 8th chapter over here. Well, Peter Mark Adams discovered many aspects of the Sola Busca Tarot, which you may recognize. If I can just find us, that there are many, many images of the Sola Busca Tarot. Some of them are a little bit upsetting, so I don't really want to include those in this review. But nevertheless, you may recognize this style, and that's because the Sola Busca Tarot has become quite popular over the past few years because of the book that Peter Mark Adams wrote about this, which was published in 2017 by Scarlet Imprint, called The Game of Saturn. So that book really ruffled a few feathers. People saying, oh, but I thought that tarot hadn't been used in an esoteric context prior to the late 18th century. But actually, it turns out that this tarot deck describes quite vividly, in hidden forms, but nevertheless quite vividly, an entire set of rituals. Well, Christophe Poncet discovered something very similar related to the Tarot de Marseille, right? And I think he's actually made a full documentary about the topic, and he's going to be writing a series of books for Scarlet Imprint that, well, the first volume is due to come out any time now, basically. I believe that over the next couple of years, the entire trilogy will be released. And this book works like a bridge between the two specialists of tarot, used as in an esoteric or even occult ritual context prior to the 18th century, and in spite of Michael Dummett's declarations about what is right and what isn't. Of course, there's been almost half a century of additional research since Michael Dummett's own research, right? And I think that personally, what is on display in this book, what is described in this book, is very, very compelling. It's very, very hard to deny what Peter Mark Adams and Christophe Poncet are suggesting over here. And I think that anyone reading this and who comes out the other side still doubting is really making a concerted effort to continue doubting, right? And so, this book really acts like a reminder, like a synthesis of Peter Mark Adams's The Game of Saturn, and like an introduction, like a palate cleanser and an introduction to the Tarot de Marseille trilogy that Christophe Poncet is currently working on, and I really enjoyed it. All right, in terms of the book construction, it's very good. It's incredibly inexpensive, actually, for Scarlet Imprint's standards, and it's very, you know, it's a very beautifully made book. It's Smith's Own, of course. It's on the highest grade of thick, silky smooth paper as usual. The illustrations, despite being on a cream background, have got these really lovely strong colours that come out very nicely. It's beautifully edited. It's beautifully displayed on the page. You know, there's plenty of breathing space. It's you know, they haven't stopped being Scarlet Imprint just because the book is a little less expensive than their premium publications. And you know, ultimately this really is a transcript of, at least it reads like the transcript of a podcast. However, these are two scholars speaking, right? In fact, I would suggest that sometimes, especially in Peter Mark Adams's case, I see some turns of phrases that make me think, oh my goodness, you know, you you have had your nose in books for a long time, right? It can get a little bit dense at times, but you know, as I say, it's a synthesis of the Game of Saturn, and so he's trying to say quite a lot in quite a short amount of time and in a short quantity of words. It's not always that way, by the way. There's I think the first couple of times that he speaks, it's a little bit like that, but then he eases up and starts using everyday words a little bit more often. You know, peppering the odd everyday word in here and there. You know, still, it reads much more smoothly. You know, if you've been reading some more difficult to read books, I think recently what's come out, Codex ad limina, what is it, Thea Philosophia. These are books that are just, in my view, quite impenetrable. This isn't impenetrable. It's just, you know, it's just a scholar speaking in scholarly words and turns of phrases. But yes, I'm avoiding some of the middle of the book because there are some images in the Sola Busca Tarot which are a little bit upsetting, and some that are simply not suitable for YouTube at all. And nevertheless, I'm sure that there's nothing that anyone watching a review from Foolish Fish can't handle. And that's about it from me on this Two Esoteric Tarots. If you're interested in the history of tarot, this is indispensable. Right? If you're interested in being able to have an informed conversation on the history of the tarot, on what the tarot was used for and when, then yes, this is absolutely indispensable, and you've probably already got it. But I'm really looking forward to Christophe Poncet's work now. I think that this really has whet my appetite, and I'm quite ready for this new trilogy. There we go. That's the Two Esoteric Tarots by Peter Mark Adams and Christophe Poncet. And yes, thank you very much to Cesar Pedrero for facilitating the conversation between the two. There we go. Thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and yeah, check out all the ways in which you can support the channel if you'd like to support the channel going forward, down in the description and in the comments. Okay, thanks again, take care, and see you very soon with another video. Bye bye.